and ever, warmest welcome to Close Flow here on NTA2 Lagos Network Center. It's our delight to have you join us and keep our company as we lay on the table again another grinding aspect of how the Nigerian dream has so far not been realized, or probably, let's be on the positive, let's take the ascendancy and say, okay, no, we are doing it right, but maybe not too correctly. My name is Fola Martins, and on behalf of the entire crew, it's our delight to welcome you to join us again for this round of conversation. Many people have said so many glowing things about Nigeria, but everything seems to just point at one area: the potentialities, the amazing, rich potentialities of this country. Yet, we all have one hanging phrase: the potentials of Nigeria are yet to be realized. Now, another contentious issue is the fact that everybody is saying Nigeria is a young nation. That is, we have a huge size of, or an army of young Nigerians who are just either coming out of school or going into school or looking for jobs. And so, what does that mean? What does that translate to? An army of unemployed young persons or an army of potentially employable Nigerians? These are some of the questions or some of the issues we're going to be looking at this morning as we take on yet another distinguished Nigerian who again will be speaking from his own core competence area on how the Nigerian dream concerning our younger generation can be realized. Our guest this morning had degrees in engineering and economics from the university, but he went into banking, started making some money, and did banking for about 16 years. 16 years, making money in the banking sector. Then he now said to himself, am I fulfilling my dreams? Am I occupying a space within the Nigerian story? Or maybe I should do something else. So he abandoned banking, he abandoned making money. He now said, look, we must find a way to steer leadership in the right direction by connecting with the younger generation. So he decided to start doing things on leadership counseling and advocacy. It's our pleasure to welcome onto Close Flow this morning, on your behalf, all of our viewers who are watching, Orji, Udemezue. You're welcome to Close Flow.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Don't let his dapper banking look deceive you. He has given up on all that area. He's now thoroughly, entrenched in how knowledge can be shared with the younger generation so that they can take their own rightful space within the Nigerian framework. Okay, now let's first understand ourselves. Are you saying that the banking, the way you understand it right now, is not delivering at the other end of the fence? Is that why you decided to leave all this money-making business to now go into this?
Well, the banking sector is a critical sector in any economy. No economy can progress without the financial system being efficient. So I'm not saying that the banking sector is not doing what it ought to be, what it should be doing. It's doing its best to position the Nigerian economy, even though it has had its ups and downs. But for me, it's a choice, about at this point and at this age in my life, a choice about pursuing my passion, living my dream, making the kind of impact I want to make in my world. Impacting people, transferring knowledge, and trying to initiate projects that will bring about quality leadership and a better country. Like you said in your opening remarks, Nigeria has huge potentials, and we have the capability to bring those potentials to life. But why are we not doing it?
So that's the question I should be asking.
Why are we not doing
You should not
that?
be asking me that. So you are the one now who should proffer to us why we are not translating these potentials to reality. Why? From your own, let's first look at your experience.
Okay.
The things you are confronted as a banker.
Okay.
What were the things that you saw that were lacking in the potentials that we have, and then the reality that we now face, where we now want to translate those potentials into practical things?
Okay, I can assure you that every Nigerian has is a professor in analyzing Nigerian problems. We all know what our problems are. Like this morning, I spent almost 4 hours
Discussing.
moving from my house to this place. I left so early thinking that I will get here, I will get to VI before 9 o'clock and do a few things before coming for this program. But there I was in mile 2 for more than 4 hours. Because the contractors that are doing that, nobody monitors them. They feel like, oh, they are doing us a favor by constructing the road, and therefore they can block everywhere, and you can go dead for 9 months, pending when the job is delivered, and in the end, we know a light will come at the end of the dark tunnel. But must we live
that way?
Must we die before that project is done? Nobody monitors them. We just hand out the project. So I think the key problem, the summary of all the issues, because we cannot even exhaust them in 1 hour. But the summary of all the issues, for me, is leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I don't mean Goodluck Jonathan, in as much as he has a lot of influence to bring to bear on the issues. But I'm talking about leadership at every corner where we are. Leadership in my personal life, understanding who I am, discovering myself, knowing my skills and my competencies, doing everything I can do to bring out the best out of myself, not giving myself to laziness and having to beg for money, thinking that, oh, my uncle is very rich and big, he's the person that will rescue me. This person is a big uncle,
I know him.
the person that will get me a job. Taking responsibility for my actions, for my failure, for my success, personal leadership, and then leading in the homes. Whether you're a mother or you're a father or a child, what impact are you making in your family? What impact are you making in the church? Or is the church just merely growing? Everywhere we have millions, in a street, in Ibadan, Lagos, you have hundreds of churches, and yet there's no, tendency for people to behave well, to transact, honestly with each other in an economy, to build trust. There are issues or leadership in the community, communal problems, quarrels everywhere. Leadership in the workplace. We have so many bosses and managers, no leaders. Okay? Leadership, at the state level and then at the federal level. There are issues everywhere. We are calling Jonathan every day, but where the man is not present, we are not doing things right. So I think there is a lot, about how we, manage our own little space.
Yes. Okay, I like that. Now we have had guests here also who have said actually that the responsibility starts from each person. That this idea of abdicating responsibility,
blame storming, sharing blame.
Yes, every time it's the other person. Yes, every time it's the other person. So what is that? Is that cultural, or is it a question? Is it a spill off of the poverty, or is it that because we are trapped in some I don't know what they call Nigerian factor? What exactly is it?
I think it's a combination of those factors. It's a chicken and egg situation. Which one will come first? Should the governors or the president and the ministers do their own part first,
and let it now distill
before we can respond with better followership? Or should we follow better first, set example, and hold them accountable, and then expect them to now respond with better leadership? It's neither here nor there. But I think Nigeria has got an accumulation of neglect and deprivations over the years. And at the level where we are, I don't think we will expect the change
overnight.
Not trying to, excuse anybody, to massive change to occur at the, grassroots level. But those people have been boxed to a corner. People cannot, more than 70% of Nigerians leave the figure that says 60. It's more than 70% of Nigerians live in abject poverty. They live in less than $2, per day. Families, the inequality, the Gini index is, about 50%. It's a high level, and that's even, just a managed figure.
Yes, that is like padding it.
That shows a high level of inequality. If I do the mathematics for you, you will agree with me that those who have good jobs in this country are not up to 0.5 or 0.6% of the population. I can break it down for you.
Orji, that cannot be serious. That is dismal.
It is the fact. That's why anybody who works in the bank today, anybody who works in the telecom industry, oil company, I tell them that no matter how they look at it, even no matter how tough they think life is for them, that they belong to the
elite.
Up to 1% of the bourgeois in this economy. Okay, you will agree with me that the banking industry is about one of the industries that employ the highest number of staff.
Yes.
All right? Okay. How many banks do we have in Nigeria today? About 24.
Yes.
Commercial banks. Let's take on the average, each bank employing about 5,000 staff. As high as that may be. Some are employing more, some are less.
Yes.
So if we take average of 5,000 staff for 24 banks, it's about 120,000 Nigerians. Not that all of them are all main staff, but both the
whether support
120,000. Yes. Oil and gas people, they are not as many. In fact, banks have branches all over the country. Oil and gas is just Port Harcourt, Lagos. So let's give them half of that population, 60,000. That's 180,000. Telecommunication, I'm looking at the key places where good salaries are paid.
Yes.
Look at telecoms. In oil and gas, I meant upstream and downstream. Now, in telecoms, give them another 50,000. You know, they're only about how many?
Just about
Glow,
10,
MTN.
10 of their maximum.
So that's giving us about 200 or 250,000 people. Okay, give our other entrepreneurs, businessmen, my brothers in Aspamda, in Kanu, business people who are doing, real, business, not
trading and proper
trading
yes.
and proper trading, the informal sector of the economy.
Yes.
Let's give another 100,000 people, to be very generous, who are doing well. It hasn't come up to 500,000 yet. How many are we in Nigeria?
Orji, no, that's
about 160, 170 million people.
And we have
we don't have up
effectively.
To we don't have up to 300, 400,000 people who are earning good salary. It is that bad. Because we don't sit down to crunch these figures. We take whatever we're giving, as a report. We are told the unemployment today is 23.9%. We take all of that, hook, line, and sinker. But if you sit down and look at this and break it down, you find that it's so disgusting.
Okay, now
it's horrible.
So what are you trying to do, therefore, to cross this bridge? Because this is now almost like doomsday. Because if you juxtapose the figures, if you look at 160 million, an effective employment or rate of employment is only 500
who are well employed. When you look at
it's like doomsday.
When you look at employment, we usually look at the figures of people who are capable of working, who are looking for a job, but who don't have a job.
Yes.
And we get that figure and we say it's 23.9%, even as well managed as that figure is. If we consider underemployment, people who are working in a place where they have no business, working there. A graduate who is working in a place where he's paid only 15,000 naira.
But just
if you look at the future value of that money, if you analyze it every year till the will that equal the amount of, if you do it just normal net present value? In fact, even in perpetuity, how much the person will earning 20,000 naira every year
for the
next 40 years useful working life. Compare that to the today's value, bring it to today's value, and compare that to the value of how much is spent going to that university education. It's a negative. So for such people, though you may count them as employed, but they are heavily underemployed. And I can assure you that many people whom we term employed in this country are also looking for jobs. They want to jump away from the country, they want to change jobs, but jobs are not there. Because the economy is though growing, but it's not providing jobs.
It's not absorbing those jobs. It's not absorbing those. Now let's look at that reverse, therefore.
Okay.
So where is the economy, where is the break in the economic progress? Why is it that the economy is not addressing those critical areas where what we turn out to be employable Nigerians are not being absorbed by the quality of jobs that we have in the environment? Why?
Okay, Nigerian economy is a very, I would say funny, it will be derogatory. I love this country. But Nigerian economy is a complex economy. It had disobeyed every known economic theory, one can say. An economy that has been growing at a very huge and fast pace. Nigerian economy, I dare say, is one of the fastest growing economies in the whole world. Apart from China, that had done up to 12-13% in economic growth year on year, until recently when they went down to about 7.5%.
Yes. And India?
India has also done good growth, among the emerging economies. Nigerian economy has been doing average of 6.5 to 7% growth year on year in the past decade. All right, and in every economy we say that about 4 or 5 macroeconomic objectives to achieve economic growth, which we don't have any problem with. To achieve price level stability, inflation management, we've done fairly well with that. Okay, or to also ensure balance of payment equilibrium. Import export, we had some challenges with that in the past because of oil price vagaries, but now it's got better. We end the year usually on a positive balance of payment position. All right, so we don't have much problem from there. Self-sustenance is an issue, but the next key economic objective is to achieve low unemployment level. That is where the problem is, and that's why the international analysts and all the people that know
what economic theories are.
It's about calls Nigerian economic growth a jobless growth. It's been termed jobless growth over the years. In fact, it is what has been used to mock us, because the economy is growing,
but there are no jobs.
Jobs are not coming with it. Because if an economy is growing, it means that there's a greater or higher level of activity, production going on. The output in the economy, within the boundaries of that economy every year is going up. But if that happens, it means that more factories are being opened, more businesses are opening, and then more jobs are being taking in.
now,
So,
as
but
a
you find
banker,
that, okay.
as a banker, as an economist, as an engineer, where therefore is the evil spirit that is obviously ghosting away the jobs that people should be. I mean, what really is happening? We must have. There must be a way you can tie this down.
Okay. For me, the first thing is corruption. The first thing is corruption. Corruption has made every Nigerian, not every Nigerian, to be fair to those who are working very hard and who are also working honestly. Most people are just pushing hard at how to undo this country, how to take their own bite of national cake. Because we discovered oil, instead of the resource being a blessing to us, it has become a curse. We are focused on how to appropriate the national wealth coming from oil to ourselves,
and our
how
families.
to get our bit of it. So we have forgot how to lead. We have forgot how to, seek the common good. We have, we've forgotten how to, make our environment better. So you find that a lot of money is being earned through this non-renewable energy resource, which is oil, that may soon, be depleted.
Yes.
We're making all the money there, and we lack the leadership to make that money spread across other sectors of the economy. So we have an economy that is solely dependent on, even though the oil and gas sector only contributes about less than 15% of the national GDP figure.
Yeah.
But you find that sector giving us more than 85-90% of our revenue. So it means that we are over depending on that sector, and it tells you that if we can do to that sector what we're doing, to other sectors what we're doing to that sector, we can have a very massively blessed and blossoming economy.
Now, if we know this much, that's yet another Nigerian factor. Just like you said, every Nigerian is a prophecy of our economic
problems. Yes.
Yet, we don't seem to have an aggregate on how this is going to be solved.
I was going to tell you that the way we have got now, I won't blame the man in the street, or put more emphasis on the man in the street in terms of solving the problem where we are today. I think the key solution must start coming from those who hold the instrument of power.
Political leadership.
Political leadership, economic leadership, social leadership, to begin to say that enough of this frittering of our national resources. Let's begin to do the right thing. Because the single most important thing we can do in this economy to begin to get things work. Let's put down that power, energy.
Yes.
Let's put down our feet. Let's bury our manhood and insist that let's even lay down our lives
and
insist that this thing must work.
Hours, yes.
All the demons, even our Minister of Power had recognized that it appeared that there are demons, or the former CBN governor used the word vested interest.
Yes.
Somebody can also add principalities and powers holding down the energy sector of this economy. If somebody can say, I would rather die than see people sabotage the efforts of government in erecting the proper infrastructure to make sure that we have transformers generating, power is well generated, distributed, well managed. If somebody can say, I will die for this country, because people are dying every day anyway. People are making sacrifices every day. Boko Haram is killing people in hundreds.
Yes.
These are sacrifices for national development. Why wouldn't the leaders who have the better for you to sacrifice once and for all
do the same? Do
this thing so that this country will be okay. Because the more we go in the way we are going, the more people will be there. And those who are in Lagos, in Calabar, or in Akwa Ibom, or in Enugu, thinking that this whole thing
is
far away, they should think again. It's coming closer. And because we don't have even the security infrastructure, the satellite system to stop their movement. Maybe they are restricted for now because of maybe some logistics. But when they are able to perfect their ways, more than we are able to perfect our surveillance system, it will get everywhere. So the earlier we begin to address the core issues, the better. People must begin to say, all this money we eat in recurrent expenditure, over bloated salary, traveling with million people when you want to travel as a public officer, when a British Prime Minister will enter a train and he won't even get a seat. Can't even get a seat. And he's standing reading paper in the train. Here, a councillor in a local government has aides here and there. The local government chairman, covers his, he moves around with impunity. Not talk about ministers who moves in droves of aides, moving around the whole place. The cost of running this government is huge, and that's about corruption. And we're not sincere about cutting down the cost of government. That's why in an economy we have a plan to reduce our recurrent expenditure, as in principle, and then bring up our capital expenditure. We haven't been able to execute that.
Now
nobody is willing to lay down his life to say enough of this nonsense.
Okay, now, if the leaders abdicate because in every community, in every human settlement, that vacuum will never be allowed. If the leaders have abdicated this, what you have just said, this pathfinding role, then why won't followership take up that challenge?
The option that the followership has is a dangerous option. People have talked about revolution and all of that. I don't want to talk about it. It's scary. Even though Nigerian followership has also been muzzled, they are hungry, though they are angry, but have no power to fight. You know, they're still muzzled. But there are ways that someday, we know what happened a few years ago when we said occupy Nigeria. We know the power of that. That could easily be reorganized. I don't want to go that way. We don't need that revolution, anymore. We need revolutionary leadership. Let the revolution be on the side of leadership, where people can say, instead of me seeing the oil blocks of this country being shared in private hands, instead of me seeing the wealth we get from revenue of oil revenue and all of other parts being wasted, because if you look at what goes on, I don't want to talk about NNPC here. I mean, it's not within now.
Yes.
But if you look at the way our oil revenue is managed, you feel sorry for this country. I can put you through under arithmetic. You may not like it, but if you look at the oil price, let me take you through a simple arithmetic to let you know that there's so much injustice in this economy.
Okay.
If you are into production, I know we run expenses to produce revenue.
Yes.
Okay. But what about an economy where a potential revenue of 11 trillion naira results in only about 3.5 trillion of revenue coming to government? How do I mean? That's the right question.
Yes.
What's oil price in the international market today? About 110
to 120, around
$15. How much do we export? In theory, in practice, maybe more every day. 2.3 million barrels per day of oil in this country. Okay, it means in a year you will have 2.3 million times 35 days.
Yes.
Multiply that by yourself. Multiply that with $110 price of oil. Okay, and then multiply that by about 160 naira per dollar. It will give you nothing less than 10 trillion naira. But what we have reported to us as oil revenue in our budget is not up to 4 trillion naira. The rest come from the revenue, tax revenue. The oil revenue is not up to 4 trillion. So the rest of about 7-8 trillion could be termed as operational expenditure. We need to know more about this.
Now, but the question therefore has been that for a long time, the informed, who are also Nigerians, who seem to always capitulate anytime they have a chance to query or to question, some of these reports that we are getting. Because we have asked a question now. Tomorrow, if you become suddenly the PA to the minister, what happens? Will that question still be asked?
You mean me?
No, I'm just asking.
Okay.
This is rhetorical.
That's what I'm saying. We need people who are willing to sacrifice for this country, who are willing to work for this country sincerely, who are willing to say the truth. Even though in saying the truth, you may not want to scatter the polity. Like some people said, the now His Royal Majesty or His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, he's a man I have come to admire his confidence. Whatever imperfections he has, nobody's perfect.
Yes, a human being.
But I admire the confidence of that man called Alhaji Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, now His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano. Not because he's perfect, not because I like some of his other maybe religious or whatever positions,
activities, yes.
but in terms of his level of confidence in expressing his displeasure,
with the way things are being managed.
I think he's the kind of person I want to emulate. People must be confident and be willing to lose their exalted position, whether as a minister or as an aide to the minister or even as a president, to lose that position for the good of this nation. That's why there is dearth of sense of citizenship. What we have in Nigeria is sense of tribe.
Yes, ethnicism.
We all belong to our tribes and ethnic group first of all, before we talk about whether we belong to Nigeria or not. There's no patriotism, true patriotism, no sense of citizenship. Otherwise, people can stand up to say this is not the way Nigeria will get better. And I can tell you the way we are still fighting, how to appropriate leadership to ourselves, south, northeast, northwest. If we continue that way, this country is better not together than being together.
That is another
issue. If we are going to be together, we must be together from a sense of commitment
That
and
we are all
devotion
part of this
to the
environment.
good of this nation.
Now, that is another issue that we have had guests who have actually said on this show, that it would appear as if we are forced to be in a marriage, and therefore maybe it is high time that marriage is dissolved. You want to agree with that kind of...
I don't want to totally agree with that. Once you get married, I'm one of those who believe that once you get married, you've got married.
You stay in it.
And the tendency is that usually the grass is greener on the other side. When you are in your marriage, you always think it's better in the other person's house. But you don't know that that beautiful thing you see is managed with a lot of endurance, tolerance, forbearance, forgiveness, justice and fairness, and all of that. There are many nations today, America and the rest of them, that also have a multiplicity of nations within them, multiplicity of people, tribes within them, but they are still existing. In India or China, you have more than 1.2 billion, even if they are the same tribe. I can assure you, it's a huge number to cause confusion, to disagree, to be one, but they're still one. Nigeria, how many are we? Only about 170 million people are at
So we can do better.
We can have millions of tribes, quite all right, but if we have strong leadership who is fair and just to everybody, and who insists on the best being given to this country, it's not a big deal being together as a country.
Okay, in spite of our diversity.
We can make that diversity a strength to us instead of a weakness.
Okay, now let's come to the back end of this.
Okay.
Leadership on the front will seem to have failed the country. Leadership from the back, the followers, the younger generation, we are already failing. So how would what you are doing begin to correct some of these things? Because it's like we're in perpetuity now. The front end is collapsed, the back end is not waking up to it. So what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's a big problem. That's why part of what I run a firm. It may not be right in your.
No, you cannot talk about your firm.
Yeah, I run a firm. But what I'm saying is that the project, part of the project I intend to undertake over time, will be to take these leadership lessons to young people at the secondary school, primary school level. Not that we have lost hope with the elderly ones, but while we see how we can get that leader, because it can be fixed. Though it may be harder to fix elderly people than the young people.
I like that. That is hopeful.
Yeah.
So the problems can be fixed.
Can be fixed. If you have a leader who decides that no hint of corruption in my government, no hint of personal aggrandizement in my government, no hint of insult in my government. People must do their jobs diligently. You must come to work at a particular time in the morning, do your work, and you must not carry about so many aides traveling. Things must be streamlined. We cut down the government, a radical leader. It mustn't be a military man. Because people are already saying we're better off again with military. I can assure you that even the best military regime will do worse damage, worse danger
to the psyche of years.
Even if we think that they are giving us PTF and they built hospital and all of that, the psyche, the governmental development and the democratic culture will not be there. So we're better off with a democratic structure that is growing
and learning.
Learning. But for how long will you? The problem is that we have learned for too long. From 1999 to date, it's about 15 years of democratic structure. How much have we learned through our mistakes? How much of politicking have we dropped to replace it with leadership? How many quality people do we have going for elective positions? In a place like Akwa Ibom, people have been dying every other day out of political killings. APC and PDP cannot see eye to eye. That's not healthy. I support strong opposition, and it must be based on maturity and wisdom. Ideology. We must not be fighting and see how Kitty played out. People could not cross, visit to any rally again because there's danger. That it's do or die, and it's not the idea.
But that question should be coming to you, Orji, because now the issue will be that the break in the way we communicate, the break in the way that we interrelate, the break in the way that the younger generation begins to understand the political space, may be the reason for some of these evils that which you have identified now seem to just continue to be part of our equation.
Our culture. Like I said, it's just that issue of selfish interest being promoted above the national interest. It's for me. I don't know how else to put it. But I think we need a president who really will come and begin to dismantle all the equations that exist in this, because the equations are not working for us. We need somebody who can dismantle the structure the way they are. Whether he's going to say Let's go on a regional level. Let's make the center unattractive. If you're the president, you have come to serve. You don't have so much money. You're not going to be calling FAC meeting every month and be doling out you. I give you this. You, because I don't like your face, I will not give you your own until next month and all of that. We don't need that anymore. We need people to take their destiny in their hands, whether they are at the local government level or the family level or the state level or at any level at all. So we can get the best out of our people in this country. Nigeria has one of the highest quality of human capital in this world. But that human capital becomes useless within the boundaries of Nigeria, and they become excellent outside the boundaries of Nigeria.
All right.
The brain drain issue.
All right. So we will take a short break. Orji has thrown down the gauntlet again. We have the highest level of human capital, but within the boundaries of Nigeria, that human capital is negative. Outside of here, it is celebrated. We'll be back. Just stay with us. And when we come back, get ready to send your text messages so that we can then challenge some of the positions that Orji may have expressed there. Stay with us.
Network Center brings you broadcast service wherever and whenever through our social media platforms, now live on just a click away. Global news, sports, business reports, politics, issues, events and happenings around the world, your favorite past and present TV programs, drama, documentaries, and foreign news headlines. Log on to www.youtube.com/NTA2Lagos. Watch, download, comment, and subscribe free. It's simply www.NTA2Lagos and explore our world of news and events. Available in all smartphones, iPads, and all Android phones. Like our Facebook page, NTA2 Lagos Network Center. You can tweet us at NTA2LNC. NTA2 Lagos Network Center, your reach out station.
Thank you for staying with us. You're welcome back to Close Flow here on NT2 Lagos Network Center. And we still have Orji in the house. Just before we went on that break, he has said that within the boundaries of Nigeria, the amazing capital assets of this country, human capital assets of this country, will seem to be in the negative. But when you look at the brain drain and the level and the number of Nigerians who are just packing their baggages and doing Andrew on us, then you know that the human capital asset of Nigeria outside of here are actually celebrated. Now, so you have already defined the fact that unemployment is incredibly dismal within the country. So how can we change that? How can people begin to creatively become their own bosses or their own employer?
There are several causes of unemployment, especially in Nigerian firm. Theoretically, you talk about unemployment, in three dimensions. The structural unemployment that occurs because of skills gap, what the industry is looking for.
And what the other fellow has to offer.
Applicants don't have it. Then the frictional unemployment, the fact that it takes time for people to get job, whether a new job or a change of job. And then, of course, the cyclical unemployment, the fact that the business cycle in the economy, goes with it. Employment happens when we have, a boom, and when there's a recession, unemployment will take, place. But in Nigeria, there's a combination of all these factors, that causes, unemployment in Nigeria. But to talk about, in practical terms, the economy is somehow in a box corner, because the key sector of the economy, that's the oil and gas, where so much noise is being made, is not absorbing so many people. In fact, the employment in that sector is very slow, if at all it happens. Bans are usually what we hear from most IOCs, that's international oil companies,
Yes.
that there is a ban, on further employment. The oil servicing firms,
Meaning that, therefore,
they cannot employ except
they already put a ceiling.
Yes, a seal or a ceiling, on the employment. Except somebody, retires or leaves, they can now surreptitiously bring people in. But no activity is happening there. In the banking industry, it's also restricted. We used to have, 80 banks. Now, because of size and all of that, we have about 24 banks. They are doing their best, but they can't also, And then the telecommunication industry of late just came to also help. But there's still a lot of people out there looking for jobs that cannot find jobs. So we need to open up other sectors of the economy. That's the point I'm making.
Yes.
The single most important sector we need to open to make this economy have a good lease of life
Buoyancy.
Buoyancy is agricultural sector, because we have a great a climate, a great arable land, a great agricultural resources in this country in terms of weather and natural resources. We have very wonderful farmlands across the whole nation.
But Orji, that has been this is like a broken record. I mean, this question of agricultural investment and all that has been a sing-song of many governments.
And yet nothing.
So why is that? That's what I'm asking
because we don't take ourselves seriously. Policies come up to encourage, maybe microcredit, farming or agricultural expansion projects and all of that, post-harvest technology and all kinds of things. But we do not implement. When monies are released, somebody up there sees it as his own part of national cake, and he squanders it. And there we go, white elephant projects here and there. Otherwise, I love what the current Minister of Agriculture is doing, but I need people to also support it, because he can't do it alone. The kind of effort that man, Dr. Udemezue has put in, if he has got the support and the buy-in of other stakeholders, would have gone further with some of the projects he has. But we're almost still like making we're not seeing the effect. Because you bring out money for fertilizer, some people will divert it. You will say, okay, let's do risk sharing in agricultural lending. Let's share the risk. Some banks will still not want to share the risk, because the risk is for them is too huge. And government does not take the initiative. Government cannot abdicate its role for the private sector. It cannot be done. Because we are so inefficient in our public sector, we want to push everything
to the private sector.
There's no venture capital, no microcredit. You cannot get money easily to run your small farm or your snail farming or anything you want to do. How much more the big farm projects. And we can also not do PPP, public-private partnership very well to bring in foreign investors who will bring these huge farm settlements and post-harvest technology, preservation and processing. Because we export the things that we that we need and import the things that we don't need. That raw thing is what we need to bring into our manufacturing system, add value to them, and then begin to export quality. And when you export after adding value, you get so much revenue from it. But when you export at just the base level of raw materials, maybe farm produce, you get nothing, near to nothing. And the white man, the Western, the developed economies will add more value to it and give it back to you at ×4 the price.
What you exported to them originally.
Yes.
Now, there seems to be some incredible disconnect between what you are saying that we should be doing, that is invest in agriculture, and what the younger generation is actually periscoping. The younger generation would want to be in
banking hall, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
You, rather than go to.
That's why we're talking about infrastructure. If agriculture can be made to be cool, I don't know how to use the word sexy, for young people.
Yes.
They want to see agriculture cool and attractive, trendy. You can have your iPad, your BB, and everything in your farmland. Yes. Whether you are driving tractor, when you have your break time, you can have a very chilly, cold room to rest, because and you have a nice quarter. If you have very well planned agricultural schemes,
such visionary, yes.
We have huge agricultural settlements somewhere, and we build low, cost housing schemes around there. So young people know that once you're working in this company, you have a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment for you, and it's even well furnished, and you are there. But we know that when we produce these things and we export them, look at even palm oil, for example. Malaysia came here and tapped it, and they're doing great things with it. And they are one of the greatest countries, emerging economies in this world. Based on palm oil only. If you have a palm oil production, it's a long chain from harvesting the fruits from the farm, from getting the oil, from cracking the kernel, and producing soap. So many things. Nothing is wasted in that value chain. But if you can get a big settlement where the whole value chain, we have the people that get the plant, people that in a big farm settlement, and we make it attractive. Young people will work there. All they want is at the end of the month, pay me an attractive. I can be in that farm. Have my we have parties, we have social events, we have football, events and all of that. People can stay in the farm and work.
Now this is the kind of creative leadership or creative visionary that Nigerians are asking for.
Yeah.
So why won't young persons also go into the political space? Someone like you.
Okay.
It's always been a critical question that why would not the good persons not want to join in making political change by taking up policies?
Young people would want to join, but the vested interests, the principalities and powers, who are over 80 years, who are over 70 years, who are over 65 years, who insist that they must become the chairman of all the parties, who must select who must give in the ticket to vie, they make it scary for young people to come near. Because if you go there, how much money it's still money politics.
Yes.
How much money, even the normal process where you have to pay the party, pay the form, it's expensive. No, not talk about how much money you're going to have to muzzle your way through when the powers that be have billions of money to pump in any state. And once they fix their eyes on any position, it doesn't matter whether you have a best candidate in a poor, ex-banker, who has all the ideas. Or ex-oil and gas staff, or ex-telecommunication staff, or somebody who has taught a professor in the university, who has ideas on what to do, or a teacher who thinks that if I'm giving the credit sector, I'll do wonders with it. That teacher, who are you to come to the post to challenge somebody who is being, sponsored from Abuja? That's a problem. We have obstacles everywhere, but that's not the reason for young people to stay away.
Give up.
We must keep striving. At the right time, those who are some of us who think we have value to add, we will come in there. But we must come with the right attitude and the right perspective. Let it not be a case where we know the solution before we get in, and when you get in, the whole thing disappears, and you join the train. That's why I like people like the late Dora Akonyele. May God bless her soul. At the critical times in this nation, she had spoken right, and she had done the right thing. If not for the Anambra gubernatorial thing, she's the kind of woman I want people to look up to in terms of leadership. Speaking the truth, even when your life is in danger. Over there in Abuja, when the issue of Yaradua, whether he was fit to not, people were trying to do all kinds of funny things. She came out to say the truth. This man, deserves to be given this position as a vice president, and that's the right thing to do. And as she spoke that word, many people began to gravitate towards that, position. But nobody was, honest and bold enough to say it. People know the truth, but to act it and implement is a problem. We know the solutions to the Nigerian problems, but who will take the first step to solving it? Even if it means denying his own people, denying himself, denying his tribe, but standing for Nigeria.
Now,
that's what we need.
Now, we seem to have agreed now that there's a little bit of absence of national ethos for Nigerians to buy into. So they rather, revert to ethnic groupings, to communal years.
But nobody has shown the light. Nobody has shown the light.
Now, but why can't we use, therefore, the communities to begin to push people to look Nigeria? Why? Virtually every community in Nigeria, we have monthly meetings, we have monthly agendas, why can't that be turned around to say, okay, look, yes, we belong to this community, but this community has a bigger responsibility in the Nigerian space, and therefore begin to also make that as an agenda.
It's difficult to think that any community now will be thinking beyond its immediate need, the way Nigeria is today. Every community is just trying to see how to survive. In fact, it's survival instinct ruling everywhere. It is when the basic needs of man, is it
food, shelter?
Maslow, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
That when a man meets his need for food, shelter, the basic things, that he moves to the next level. Most communities in Nigeria are they at a position where they can even strategize and think for the common good of this country. Just like I said, the common man is boxed in a corner. So the communities cannot do much now. In fact, the communities have been overtaken by materialism. values, are at their lowest
Changed.
ebb in the community because everybody is hungry. People are pursuing money at any cost. A lot of ritual killings everywhere in this country.
Kidnappings.
Even in the midst of all the spiritual activity, even the pastors themselves, I'm sorry for the genuine pastor, but some pastors in this country do all kinds of things to get power, to be able to get money. It's all about the kind of nation we are running now. People are looking at money. Before now, if you lacked integrity and honesty and you had millions, people will ignore you with your money. But today, who cares how you get the money? Once you are driving the biggest car, you are the toast of the community. And you come in there, in fact, many people now come and take over the Igweship, the traditional rulership of their community, whether it's Emeship or Igweship or Obaship, whatever, because they are holding Naira and Kobo, dollars and and euro. And that's where we are today. So issues are plenty. Value, morality, is a major problem. Young people don't see hard work anymore. We're going to come to unemployment issues.
Yes.
Because it has, gotten to the point where even when there are jobs in the economy, the people that will do those jobs are not ready for those jobs. I was discussing with somebody a few days ago, on Facebook. So I'm looking for a job. Okay, what are you doing? Do you read your GMAT every day? Have you got your CV well reviewed? Do you prepare very well for aptitude tests? And then do you read papers, journals, articles to sharpen yourself for interviews? I don't want to take GMAT. That's coming from somebody who needs a job. Someone who needs a job telling me he doesn't want to take a GMAT. That means there is mental laziness.
Already.
We are looking for how to get quick money. In this country, somebody will be well dressed in a better suit than the one I'm wearing now, I'm putting on now. And the person will come to you, tap on your door, please give me money. He's healthy. In every form, he's healthy. But he does not have the sense of duty and hard work. How can the economy develop? So the unemployment in Nigeria is, a mixture of all kinds of issues. Genuine problems in the economy, and then some, false situations in the economy where young people are becoming mentally lazy. They're depending on my uncle will get me a job. Meanwhile, the jobs are there in the street. They can't go and get them.
No, but Orji, we have had guests here who have also said to us that often than not, it is what you have prepared in the young persons that you're also going to get. So if your own generation did not role model the coming generation properly, like let me give an example. In China, children are being taught how to manage money or how to know what money stands for. In India, in Mexico, in Argentina. I mean, we are saying that there's a structured interest of how children understand finances. Yes.
Mentoring. And
yes. But here, the reverse is the case.
Yeah.
There is a consumption that is being shared amongst young persons in Nigeria. Their ability to just consume.
But that's why we normally say that the quality of graduates we churn out these days from the universities, many of them are not employable, and many of them lack the right attitude to pursue.
So
their future.
why is that? So why blame
because the educational system in the country, is almost at a near collapse situation. There again we go. Who do we blame? Do we blame the professors who now? Maybe sometimes, not all of them, some of them sleep with students to give them marks. They score A, they come out and say we're looking for a job. They can't write up to test, or who sell handouts. It doesn't matter whether you do the course or not. Once you buy the handouts, somebody, a real life case again, somebody was talking to me and he said, I need to pay for a handout, and if I don't pay for that handout, I will not pass the course. So it determines that paying the handout is what makes you pass or not. The graduates will come out, they cannot make a single correct English sentence. They can't even speak their own local language. If they now speak fairly well, write it down. They can't write it down. And then the industries are looking for people who have very sound, enviable communication, skills. People who have the right attitude. People who are equipped with all kinds of other skills, managerial skills, who understand team building, who understand operational efficiency and all of that. People who can use the computer, the ICT, input in businesses for business growth. People who can do all that. But our graduate comes out distant from these skills. So you find that first of all, many of them are not employable. Then while you are looking for a job, can you do something to get yourself these skills? Some of them cannot still because they don't have the money. So they managed through the school system. They just manage through. They don't manage to be able to come out of school and no money to sponsor their next level. So several issues. Then the jobs, talking about creating the jobs, we know that government is not doing enough. If we open up the economy, in terms of the other sectors of the economy, if we open them up and more jobs are available, those who are, at the low level, yes, they can get jobs.
Okay, well, we seem to have all the theories right. It's now where and when to start. That usually will be the question of Nigeria. But again, we'd like to appeal to our viewers. We have said there's only one line, and you're going to send your SMS to that line so we can read out your question, your comment, to our guest here. And we have one from Oyibo. Oyibo says, well, actually, multiple questions for you this time around. So you're be ready.
Okay.
This is your own aptitude here.
All right.
Okay, it says, in your view, is Nigeria ripe for state police? That is coming out from the National Confab, where members are suggesting that we should have state police to help us begin to monitor the security level in the country. Then it says, who is a Nigerian? How do you define a Nigerian? Then third is